I'm Professor Henry Mostert, and this is the MLiA Quick Things.
Green hydrogen is not the newest superhero. It is in fact the buzzword in renewable energy.
Hi Kennedy, and welcome to MLiA Quick Things. It's my pleasure as a co-MLiAn to have you here today. And as a researcher and PhD candidate, how far are you in your PhD journey? And tell us a bit about your MLiA journey.
Thank you for that question, Fazeka, and for this opportunity as well. As you've correctly mentioned, I am a researcher at MLiA and also a PhD candidate. I began my MLiA journey in 2019 as I was commencing my PhD, and I'm currently at the process of finishing up my thesis, hopefully by the end of this year.
Very, very inspiring as I sit here as a first-year PhD candidate at MLiA. I know you're taking a closer look into renewable energy and in particular green hydrogen. What is green hydrogen? Tell us a bit about it.
Throughout my time at MLiA, I've established a passion for renewable energy and, as you've mentioned, particularly green hydrogen. Just to give an overview of what green hydrogen means, essentially green hydrogen is a form of clean energy that is formed through the electrolysis of water, the electrolysis process. And this process entails splitting water into both hydrogen and oxygen components. And the hydrogen is used both as an energy carrier and as feedstock for chemical processes. And the only byproduct when this hydrogen is burnt or combusted is only water, and there's no greenhouse gas emissions. And this is why it is seen as a form of clean energy.
Who would have ever thought that green would be more than just a color? Tell me, what's the global significance of green hydrogen and what value can it bring to Africa as a continent?
Green hydrogen is presently revolutionizing the energy sector globally, following public and private sector commitments. The most recent of this came from the COP26 conference that was held in Glasgow, Scotland in November 2021, whereby governments made commitments to promote green hydrogen development. And within the African continent, countries such as South Africa and Namibia are seen to be the green hydrogen giants of the future, whereby they have the necessary conditions to establish green hydrogen, and already governments across Europe, for example, Germany, have already made partnerships with these countries to produce green hydrogen. So it is seen as the last frontier in terms of renewable energy, amid the global commitments that have been made in that regard.
So what are the main factors that establish Africa as a green hydrogen hub?
So the continent essentially is well placed to become the green hydrogen hub for a number of reasons. And the first factor for this is essentially Africa's comparative advantage in terms of producing hydrogen. The continent possesses an abundance of the raw materials that are required to produce green hydrogen, particularly solar and wind, most of which largely remain untapped. Africa's diverse wealth of these renewable sources of energy means that green hydrogen can be produced at a relatively lower cost and at significant quantities as compared to the rest of the world. So this is the economies of scale aspect. Also, many African countries have an abundance of critical minerals, so essentially green metals and minerals as well, that can be used to produce technologies that produce renewable energy, such as solar panels, wind turbines, batteries, etc. The second factor is that green hydrogen offers a long-term storage option for energy, therefore solving one of the major issues with renewable energy. So green hydrogen's capacity to act as a storage system for excess renewable energy can help to overcome or counter the supply disruptions or the seasonality in renewable energy, and thereby providing remote communities with constant access to energy. The third factor is that African countries can leverage existing gas infrastructures, particularly to transport hydrogen, with limited adjustments and costs. So existing gas pipelines could be repurposed to help to produce and transport green hydrogen. For example, the gas pipelines linking Libya and Algeria to Europe through Italy and Spain. Unlike other parts of the world, many African countries are now trapped in existing technology industries, and therefore exit risks pose less of a challenge for the continent. So the continent itself has less risk of stranded assets. Countries such as South Africa, Kenya, Libya, and Algeria already possess the requisite technology in terms of producing and transporting green hydrogen. And this could actually be leveraged to support the continent in terms of these economies. The final factor relates to systems that are in place to enhance collaboration in green hydrogen development. So Africa has platforms for collaboration through regional economic organizations that are already in place. For example, you have SADC in the Southern African region, ECOWAS in the West African region, COMESA and the East African Community in the East African region, among others. And also the frameworks through the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and Agenda 2063, or the Africa Mining Vision, could also encourage harmonized policies as well. So these platforms can easily incorporate hydrogen into their portfolios for potential developments and to accelerate the development of hydrogen economies. An example of how collaboration is going to work: Namibia and South Africa, which are projected to be the green hydrogen hubs within the continent. The energy they produce in terms of green hydrogen will not only be used domestically within these countries, but will be used throughout the region through the Southern African Power Pool.
Kennedy, you make mention of the fact that there are already existing regional structures in place that connect African states to bring about this potential that Africa has for being a green hydrogen hub. Tell me, what steps do these governments need to take to attract investment into making Africa this hydrogen hub that you speak about?
Indeed, Africa can essentially leverage its natural and endowment of natural resources and these regional structures that you've mentioned. But governments need to put in place the proper or appropriate policy and regulatory environments to encourage both domestic and foreign investments that would enable the continent to develop green hydrogen economy.
Sounds like it's a thumbs up on Africa's side to bring up the potential that green hydrogen could have. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to chatting with you in the future about green hydrogen.
Thank you very much once again for this opportunity.